Okay, so before we dive into the FBO posting and ultimately the RFP solicitation, what I like to do is take you through this RFP review checklist that I've created. It's basically mentally what I go through when I'm walking through an RFP and just kind of some mental check marks, some things that I look for. And for somebody who's new or not very experienced at reading RFPs and walking through solicitations and ultimately teeing up your proposal outlines, I thought it would be good to share this in advance of going through. It'll give some of the information that we're looking at a softer place to land because you'll have a little bit of repetition. You've kind of heard it at least once from me. So with that being said, this is an A through M checklist, and this actually is the not a checklist, but the outline. These are the elements that should be included in a it's called an SF 1449 form. But when you open up the solicitation attachment on FBO, it's oftentimes an SF 1449 or something very similar. And with that being said, they usually will have the elements A through M in one way, shape, or another. So every solicitation is different and every RFP is different. And so learning that is only going to come with time and experience through walking through many of them. But I wish this is something somebody would have told me at the beginning, so I'm sharing it with you. Every RFP usually has these elements, and they may not be just all in order, or they may be through various different attachments. Sometimes they're all nice and neat, and sometimes they're all spread out. And like I said, that just comes with experience, and every RFP is different. But again, this mental checklist is, kind of things that I have, learned. So they're in the back of my head that these are the elements that I'm looking for to get the main information so that I can mentally, start to put together this proposal outline, and figure out how I'm going to bid this thing. Or if I'm not going to bid it, it gives me the information to, do a bid, no bid, and pass as well. So, all these different things are going on at the same time when you're looking at an RFP, and in time you'll be able to do the same exercise as well. So you'll see here that I've bolded a few of these, or about half of these, and then the other half I've left alone. The bold ones are the ones that we're really gonna look to pay attention to. Some of these other ones, aren't always applicable, or they're just FYIs, or they're contract clauses, things that are very important and they're there when you need them. But when you're trying to get key information about a proposal, or RFP opportunity, that's not where the information is. So I always take a no BS approach. I'm always transparent with you guys. I often do, some really quick scrolls through those things to get to the information that I want. And then once I get that information, I'll return back to it to see if there's anything, that I need to know that's different from, a typical RFP or something like that. So I'm just going to quickly go through. You can see this list A through M that I have here. And then I try to break down, the bold elements that were in the list, just so you can kind of see and get familiar with what it's going to look like. And again, every RFP is different. This is just a sample example. This is not from the solicitation we're walking through today. This is an example that I use, time and time again. But you'll see that I'm validated, and you'll be seeing a lot of the same elements and repeat. And that's what you're going to be learning from this course, so that you can essentially do this on your own and have the confidence and not be overwhelmed by all this kind of intimidating looking jargon and government forms. It's my job to kind of bridge that gap and make this easier. So this is what the cover page often looks like. This is usually page 1 when you open up a solicitation. There's going to be key information in here about NAICS codes, size standard, what the set aside is. It looks like they have the box checked for service disabled veteran-owned small business. All this is just kind of FYI information. It shouldn't be something that you worry yourself with too much. They have the solicitation number, the offer due date. That's very important. When you go to fill out this form, I actually wrote in red here the areas that you need to do, just to make it that much easier for you. And you'll have a copy of this in the first video or the second video. Just look for the attachments in the videos of this course. And I've made this available to you so you can walk through this with me, and more so you can just have this for the future to reference to make you feel, confident when you're looking at things on your own. But when you go to fill this out, you just want to put your company's name, address, and phone number here. The signature of, usually the president or the owner, and then the name and title for the same. And then you date it. And that's really all you have to do with this form. It's really not anything to be afraid of. Next bolded area is you'll often see pricing cleanse broken down like this. And it'll break down the services. Sometimes they won't break them down at all, and it'll just be one, or they'll break them down based on year. And this is where you'll have to go in and input your pricing. So you'll see here in red, they want the unit price and then the total amount, and then the total amount repeated here. So this is something that you'll definitely want to be familiar with. You can see that they put a description of the service, usually underneath the CLIN number 0001, 0002. Get used to seeing that as well. Next, they'll have some sort of delivery schedule, and this is where you're going to find period of performance, when you're expected to start the service and end the service. It'll also have this ship to address, which is usually the location that the work is being performed, wherever the government agency is. You'll usually have that, and if there's a person's name and a phone number, it looks like they just have a phone number. That would be the point of contact and information for the core. The core is the contracting officer representative, basically the PM on the government side, the person that you're going to be talking to the most once you begin working on the contract. So this next section, bolded section, is the statement of work, also known as the period of work statement, or the SOW, the SOW. This is really the meat and potatoes, where you're going to find out the type of work that needs to be performed. They're going to give you a bit of background information, and they're going to tell you about the immediate need. In here, they will include any specifics in terms of whether you need a clearance, a facility clearance. If it's for staffing people, they may ask you, about resumes, or tell you what they want to see in the resume of a successful candidate. So this is really often, it can be lengthy. It can be anywhere from a few pages up to 20 pages I've seen, depending on how big the requirement is, and so you really will be referring back to this PWS, the statement of work, quite often as you're going through putting your proposal together, and just making sense of this, because reading this, the whole reason behind this course is, in order to write a proposal, it's even more important that you can read an RFP, a request for proposal. Writing the proposal really is not that hard, which is why I'm dedicating so much of this course to teaching you guys how to read and find the necessary information quickly, and not to be overwhelmed by the rest of it. Just kind of put your blinders on, one thing at a time, and extract the information that's important to either make a bid or no bid and move on to the next. Or if you're going to bid this and give it the green light and you're going to move forward with it, what information you're going to want to know in order to bid it and to tee up your proposal. And so that's why I'm gearing it this way. So moving on to the next, really all this is really essential, important information. The next bolded is the SCA wage determination. You will often see this included in staffing and professional services contracts, where you have people working on site or at your own site, the contractor's facility, or the government facility. This SCA wage is a clause that will be included in your RFP, and essentially it's, think of it as like a labor union type thing. It dictates the minimum wage that an employee working under each respective labor category must be paid. So you'll see that they have these different occupation codes. Sometimes the government, and this is, I'm scrolling down because I forget that I just put snapshots in here. But when you look at the real thing, when you look at the real wage determination, this thing is 50 pages long, because it's got every labor category, in the book in here. And every single one is different based on each county, because, the cost of living and the standard of living varies from county to county. Therefore, the minimum wage paid is going to differ as well. So when you're pricing out positions that you're wanting to staff, this is something you'll be referring to quite often. All right, moving right along, the next bulleted section, the representations and certifications, also known as the reps and certs. If you're a company that's bidding, that means you're already set up in SAM. And if you're set up in SAM, that means you've filled out a certain percentage of the reps and certs already. So if you've done that, you'll be able to see that you don't have to complete all of it. When you read through your reps and certs, what you do is you complete the rest that changes from RFP to RFP. You'll complete that section, and I believe it actually would start with these questions right here with number 1, and it's usually around 10 pages or so, and you just kind of check the boxes. It's really not that hard. Oftentimes they're the same questions for every RFP, so you quickly become familiar with answering the questions, and it'll probably take you 5 to 10 minutes to complete your reps and certs. This is something that you complete within the solicitation, the RFP form itself, and you attach it as a email attachment when you go to submit your offer, because I do want to have your completed reps and certs. The contracting officers, they need your reps and certs to be having a completed successful submission. Okay, guys, we've almost made it through the checklist here. Section L is the instruction to offerers. This is one of the most important sections. This is going to tell you essentially what the contracting officer wants to see in your proposal response, in a winning proposal response. Typically, it's almost, not typically, it's almost always 3 things, or some variation of the 3 things. It's going to be your technical approach, your past performance, and then your pricing. Those things should be burned into your brain. Write them on the back of your eyelids, whatever you got to do. No, but in all seriousness, those 3 elements are the meat and potatoes of every proposal. And, any proposal writer worth their salt knows that. So what you end up doing is over time, you develop templates, and you have things on the side where you can just pull from them, because you know that it's going to be in every proposal that you put together. So it makes putting the proposal together so much easier, which is why, so much of this course is not focused on, writing proposals. It's focused on reading RFPs, because once you know everything that you need to put in there, putting the proposal together does not take actually that much time. And I'll put an asterisk next to that, because obviously it just depends on how big the proposal is. But if it's that big of a proposal, that means it's just going to be that much longer to read and understand the thing. That's really the most crucial part. In order to write, you must read first. So that was section L, instruction to offers. What must you have in the proposal? And then section M is really like the brother or the sister or the cousin. It's the other half. It's the yin and the yang. Section M is the evaluation. So the evaluation basically is based off of section L. So based off of the technical approach, the past performance, and the pricing, how are we going to weight each of those in determining the successful bidder? So there's 2 common practices. Lowest price technically acceptable, LPTA. In this type of evaluation, LPTA evaluation, it's the lowest price technically acceptable, which means lowest price wins. Whoever has the lowest price wins. However, that means you have to be found technically acceptable first. And to be found technically acceptable, they may require you to, include such and such information in a technical approach, and, a minimum amount of past performance information. So I hope you see how, those 3 elements can, they can change and vary based on how they're going to, weight certain things. So as long as you have that in there and it's found to be acceptable, if you have the lowest price, you're going to win. So that's in a nutshell what an LPTA would look like. But the other common form is also best value. Best value will also, require a technical past performance and pricing, but in best value, the lowest price does not win. in a best value, the contracting officer is often very concerned about the quality and the delivery of the work. And when you always go with the lowest guy, the lowest bid, sometimes the quality may suffer a little bit. So on those projects that the government needs done, where quality is the highest, paramount, most important thing, they may go with a best value, where they put a lot of weighting on your past performance and your technical approach. And if your price is a little higher to get it done, that may be okay, as long as they like your approach and how you're getting the work done. Approach varies greatly based on the job that you're performing. So I say that very loosely, depending on the RFP. But if you're looking at a staffing, which is what we're going to be looking at in this video, professional services, your approach is often going to be, are you going to retain the incumbent employees? That's something that's very important that they're going to want to know. What is your transitioning plan in terms of onboarding and offboarding employees? If there's problems, or if employee is retiring and you have to ramp up a new employee, how are you going to get them trained? Those are all very crucial things that can make or break a contract, especially a contract that can't really afford to have a gap in service. So you see that sort of information played out in the evaluation for award. So scrolling back up, this has been the checklist. I gave you a little bit more than I planned on, but I hope that I'm speaking in layman's terms mostly to kind of paint a picture for you and for it to make sense and to fill in a lot of the gaps. If you understand everything I just said, you are 75% home, 80% home. You have the majority of it already. So without going too further on this section of the checklist, I will, this is included as well, so you can follow along and have this. This is included as an attachment in the course. And in our next video, we will dive into the actual solicitation. So we'll see you there.